And we're on. You are live. Nice.
Hi, Asia.
Hello, Denise. Snuffy G.
Snuffy G.
How are you?
Living the dream. How about you?
Good. I like that you're wearing your Trella sweatshirt and I'm the one that's not. I've got
Oh, yeah, it's okay.
this my
We're
spring
like a
blue on.
circle. I begin where you end.
Yeah, sometimes it seems that way.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But no, spring blue, although spring is coming earlier this year than ever before. I don't know if you saw that. We'll talk a little bit about climate later, but
I did
yeah,
not see that.
yeah. I got the trees outside of my house are in Massachusetts. This is a little early for us to have flowers blooming.
Yeah, my neighbor has his little tulips blooming, but then we just got frost like last week, so I don't know what's happening.
Mm, mm.
Mm,
Well, now
mhm.
that we're up, let me see if I can share this to
Okay.
my feed. Here we go. You're live.
Yeah, my neighbor
Let me
has
mute
his little
myself.
tulips. Ooh. All about the technology, sharing and sharing. Boom, 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 boom. Like hold music. La 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 la. All right, here she comes. She's coming back. She's coming back. Shh, shh, shh.
Yep. There you go. I just sent it, so we should be good.
Oh, awesome.
We should be good. And it's still playing for some reason. There you go. So, yeah, let's what are we going to talk about this week? We're talking about obviously this plant on the screen.
Mm.
This biggin, we posted this. We post this picture often, and we get a lot of comments. So I wanted to just put it up there and talk about it in more detail, and then allow people to have a chance to ask more questions about it. So we'll we'll come back to that. We're going to start though with um, droughts, droughts,
Oh, that
and not
sounds terrible.
yeah, lack of water, otherwise known as not as being too dry, not enough water. How's that impacting the cannabis space, the food space, humanity, businesses, all of it? Because it's not just not just one thing. It's going to affect a lot of things. So we're going to cover that, and then we'll stop by the Trella shop, check that out. There's a couple
Mm.
people that have asked and inquired about the Model 4E, the discounts that are going on there, and the limited availability. So we'll make sure that we get clear on that too. Um, and then we'll see where where today takes us. Is that how's that sound, Snuff?
I like it. I like the rundown.
All right,
It's a
cool.
perfect Tuesday to do this. Speaking of water and it being like such a gold commodity, they were flushing our hydrants the other day
Yep.
and then they took off and they didn't come back for like an hour. And I'm like, ah, I'm like, there's so much water being wasted right now. I almost called because I'm like, okay, this is long enough. You're bleeding in the line. I get it. You got to do maintenance. You got to do whatever. But it was a lot of water, and I'm like, it just made my insides kind of like clench up and be like, doesn't don't people realize
Yeah.
that it's a limited resource and not just to just flush it down the gutter?
Yeah. No, I think, that's actually driven by like, standards. Like there's maintenance standards and for plumbing that the states and local codes have to do. So they're supposed to be flushing pipes for a certain duration to make sure that enough of the stuff gets out. But that probably was just, that hour duration, whatever it might be, was probably just you know, built up a little bit to allow for people to really make sure they have enough. So I'm sure there's some wiggle room. Like we could probably reduce that down from an
Mm,
hour to save some water.
I don't know. It made me crazy. I get it, but it made me crazy.
Yeah, I think it has to be done, but does it have to be done for an hour? That's what I'm
Right.
wondering.
I
Yeah,
think that's my question too.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
realize the maintenance and, whatever. I get it.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Such
well,
is
I don't think they're
such as
doing
it
that in
is.
California, Asia,
No.
because well, they could be, but they shouldn't be.
Mm,
They're facing a drought, and we talked before, and it's not just California, it's mostly the western part of the country that is facing something harder than what we're facing here on the East Coast. My town has a water advisory that's been on for a couple of years now, and we can only water and do things, on certain days of the week, I think when the trash gets picked up.
mm,
But we have rain barrels that we're using to water our little garden and everything. So we're trying to do our part not to use the water that is necessary. But anyway, farmers are facing a huge battle outside of the East Coast, the West Coast. Um, California Governor Newsom now is planning on paying farmers to not grow and plant crops this year. It's They're giving not away, but they're giving $268 million in upfront payments for voluntarily leaving fields uncultivated or fallowing. Um, Cannabis at this point does not fall under this yet, but they're still trying to figure out who gets this money, what sector kind of gets this money, so they don't grow their crops up there because they're facing such a huge drought again this year. And it's actually so the Department of Cannabis Control said the policy again is still being developed and they haven't defined the sectors, but they're committed to supporting the governor's efforts to respond to the drought. So I don't know what that really means and how far they're willing to kind of let Governor Newsom do what he needs to do. Um, but this fallowing initiative is what they're kind of calling it, is part of the governor's 22.9 billion water quality control plan, which they're trying to free up some water and keep it aside if they can kind of save some of it.
mm.
So when they need it, um, it's a dedicated annual supply of fresh water while maintaining, restoring, and replenishing fish and wildlife habitats, reservoirs, um, aquifers, and other water basins. So
Wow.
that's, I mean, you have to be creative at this point about trying to kind of capture your resources and make sure that people need it and get it. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. I mean that it's such a huge problem. And unfortunately, it's like not every man for himself or every person for themselves, but you kind of have to figure out your own solution. Um,
well,
Individually, like every entity, because
agreed.
the state's not going to be there to bail you out.
No, and I guess hemp isn't feeling the same effects of it. I guess there's like an oversupply right now, and there's a depressed wholesale price happening with hemp in California. So the government is asking hemp growers not to grow their crops until they have contracts with people who are going to receive the hemp.
Hmm.
So they're like, we just need you to have those contracts so you're actually growing for someone and it's going somewhere. So that's another way of kind of controlling it. But again, cannabis farmers across the state aren't feeling the same effects as certain parts of the state either.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all over the place. Like what's happening in California may not be happening in Southern California. So they can't just say, "Oh yeah, every cannabis grower gets this a portion of this 268 million not to grow crops." So I think it's one of those things of like, who gets it, who doesn't,
And
and
then they got to define the impact.
yeah, and define the impact.
And that and how is that created, and that takes time to develop. Okay, so how do you
Right.
define who's really been impacted, who hasn't? Obviously there's a line that's drawn somewhere, so some people close to the lines are going to be upset and disappointed. You really have to figure out how to deal with it on, I'm not saying that the state or the government or that the community, that we have a shared responsibility to help each other out, because it all we all we're all connected. um, but then there's also the personal, responsibility of, dang, I may have to figure out how to reserve my own water.
Mm-hmm.
and to get and not to just wait for the state to maybe find that solution. It's crazy.
I guess they've been doing this for 9 months, and they're still just trying to figure out who gets the money and who doesn't. And right
Hmm.
now it's voluntary. So when does it move from voluntary to involuntary? And then they start telling the individual farmers, no, you can't grow. And then it goes into, it just spirals, right? And then you get a fine, you get this, you get that. It's just, it will snowball.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, they say indoor cultivation uses less water,
mhm,
which is the case, but not the case everywhere. And we could talk a little bit about that, but because sometimes it's the water that you use in the cool all your HVAC equipment, all that type of stuff
right,
too. So, um,
right.
yeah, you have to be careful. But so this is California, right? Then you
Hmm.
you also had what? Are you ready to go to the next
Arizona. Yeah,
Arizona?
I'm ready for Arizona. This is the time that I think it's the third bullet down. No,
Okay.
fourth. Yeah, third bullet down. It's the first time ever that cuts to Arizona farmers. The water supply from the Colorado River is being cut off. It is the first time that's ever happened. So
Mm.
that, and they get almost, I think it was 80% of their water from there or from the surrounding um, runoffs from the Colorado River. Isn't it's absolutely insane. So, because of the intensifying drought and declining reservoir levels, more than 40 million people in the West rely on the Colorado River.
More than 40 million
Hmm.
people.
Hmm. And that's just not agriculture either. Like, that's people.
So the date on this was April 3rd.
Hmm.
So um, we still haven't felt the impact of that. I was listening to someone talk about the Ukraine and Russia and how that food, the disruption to the food system from there, the wheat, how long that takes to kind of trickle down to where you start to see it in the stores. And he said about 90 days. Um,
Oof.
and, I think here we might be sooner because some of this stuff is quicker to get to us if it's already on US, on the continent.
Hmm.
I may
Hmm.
be, assuming incorrectly, and I guess it depends on exactly what you're growing. But yeah, we're gonna feel that.
Yeah, we're going to feel it. They stopped growing some cotton because cotton, I guess, is you need a lot of water to grow cotton. They're trying to figure and start growing more drought-resistant crops, so they don't have to, fight this every year because it's not going away anytime soon. And then to your point, Asia, about like the food showing up on our tables, well, then you have politics coming into it too. You have the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, kind of stopping some trucks coming into our country, and there were over, I think, $9 million worth of produce that spoiled while waiting to come over to the border.
Mm,
So it's not just now climate, it's politics and the bullshit, can I say that,
of
around all
course.
that. Okay, I wasn't too sure.
We say crazy things.
I know, but I wasn't sure what happened. um, so yeah, and farmers across the West are beginning to make some really difficult decisions of what not to grow, how much of their land do they grow on. And I read in, I don't know if it was this article or the California article, that farmers are now selling off their farms to solar developers. So now all these farms are becoming solar farms.
Oh,
And that has a ripple effect. Like, all these farmers' decisions have a ripple effect on everyone across this country and what's on our table. So I know it sounds like bad news, but I'm hoping there's some creativity around it of how we can continue to sustain food on our tables for, you know, decades to come.
yeah, no, I feel you on the bad news. I mean, I always feel like I've known that this type of stuff was coming for so long because of my background as a natural catastrophe risk engineer. Like, like it's been, I think I started that when I was in like 2003. I can remember being at a meeting, maybe in 2010, and they were talking about um, risk mitigation. So how do you mitigate, like, disasters? And I stood up and raised my hand and asked the question, and I said to the probably like a couple levels up, manager, not CEO, but pretty high up there. And I said, well, have we considered doing anything about like the impacts of climate change fossil fuels and how that's changing and they basically just said, no, um, that's not their mode of operation. And you know, people have unfortunately been ignoring it. So you feel like you got to shout about it. You got to like eventually start saying, "Hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news,
Mm,
but I'm only saying this because we got to do something. We got to change. We can't just sit around and like look at each other and celebrate the holidays as if nothing's going on. I mean, celebrate your holidays, but get to work."
right, right.
And people are doing that. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying that people aren't doing that. I just think we need a much bigger percentage of the population to be on board with
Hmm.
it.
Yep, I agree. Do you want to show the people the Earth Day thing that you found?
Yeah, yeah. So this is a website, climatecentral.org, that I like to go back to from time to time when I'm just looking for some good graphics, some good maps, and good research on the changes that are happening globally. And it's really cool because it lets you kind of drill down into different topics and into different geographical regions. So right now we're showing how fast is it getting hot? It's warming,
Yeah.
and what parts of the United States are getting warm the quickest. And you can just, so you go to climatecentral.org, and we can drop this link in the chat.
Hmm.
Do you have that to give?
I think I can. I can
Okay.
find that.
If any, just in case anybody wants to check this out for their own particular location, because it's pretty cool. But I'm just gonna go to what should we do? Who should we check out?
Hmm. Uh,
Let's go to Maine
I
because
don't know.
people feel like Maine
Ooh,
is like
Maine.
Maine's not getting too warm, is it? Let's see.
It could be.
Yeah, it's getting warm. Portland's getting warm.
Who isn't getting warm? Maybe that should be a graphic. Who isn't getting warm? I mean, sooner or later, Massachusetts is going to be the new Florida. I mean, in the in the temperature range.
Yep.
I'm going to have to go all the way up to Canada to get a winter.
um, maybe, hopefully it'll be far enough. So this is saying right here on the left hand side. Um, I'll just so the first one is Portland, Maine, the town, the city is going up by 3.2 degrees. The whole state of Maine goes up has gone up by 2.9 degrees, and this is since 1970, so about what 50 years.
Mm. Mhm.
So in 50 years, it's gone up 2.9 degrees. But across the United States, it's only going up 2.6. So that means Maine is above the curve. They're going a little bit faster than other states. Portland is
Oh,
going even faster than that. Um, and some people may think, well, okay, in Maine, it gets warm, but you're not impacted. There's not a drought. A drought's not occurring. You don't see the impact of the drought. But one of the reasons why I brought up this too dry was it too dry to grow or cool off is if you got like an indoor cultivation setup, because most people in Maine grow indoors, especially cannabis year round, because you need the year round production. So you're
mm,
growing indoors. You have a lot of lights inside. You have a lot of HVAC to cool off the cooling environment, and all that HVAC requires cooling itself. A lot of people have cooling towers that sit outside of the building, and all that hot air basically gets put out to the cooling tower to evaporate off into the atmosphere to cool off the inside of the building. So, but what happens is that's based on, how cool it is outside. So the cooler it is outside, the more efficient that process is.
right, right.
So as Maine starts to warm up, Portland, whatever, as it starts to warm up, all that HVAC equipment will be less efficient. The efficiency will start to decline. So if you are listening to this and you have an indoor cultivation space, you've got some cooling equipment, ask your HVAC tech, what happens when,
Mm,
if this goes up a half a degree or 1 degree? Because this is over 50 years and it is accelerating. So during your operation, you will see a change to
mhm,
some degree. So find out what that is, because if you're like right on the edge of being efficient enough, or if you wanted to potentially scale up and expand operations, you got to recalculate all that stuff,
mhm,
and figure out, all right, well, if it's warmer out, for 3 months out of the year, how's that impacting my equipment? Um, those types of things are important. So I wanted to throw that out there too. But yeah, check out this website, climatecentral.org. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I put that in the little comments
Thank you.
for everyone's
Sweet, 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 sweet.
convenience.
All right. So what do we have next? You want to switch it
Yes,
up?
I do. There you
There we
go.
go. Boom, boom. In this, okay.
And look at
Thank you.
your little face behind there. It's like, oh, there's Asia.
Stop.
Peekaboo.
I'm all for Ken.
Stop blushing.
Oh, yeah. I have mixed feelings about this picture. The introvert in me is like, ugh. But but we gotta show off. We gotta show people what this what TrellaGro LST can do. And when we first posted this image and we put it out there, a lot, and we use it often. People kind of said, "Wow, that's huge," because that's one plant. Like that's not me holding up a bunch of different plants. That's one plant that was grown in our Model 6 in TrellaGro LST Model 6. So it's about 6 feet. The whole stem length from from where we cut all the way to the very tip was about 71 inches. So
Wow.
72 is 6 feet. So we were only 1 inch away, and when we're growing in our lab, we grow with the idea that we're growing for a multitude of people, like a lot of different types of growers that might be doing a lot of different types of things. So when we grow, we think about the people that might be growing not just for flower, but maybe they're growing for seed, or maybe they're growing, for concentrate. So they want biomass. They don't really want, you know, a lot of people think about cannabis and they see the pretty colas, big fat nice colas on the top, and we've got some of those shown there, kind of by my face. You can see some really nice colas. Um, all that stuff is what we call like grade A. It's the type of stuff that you want to put on the shelf to sell. And then you've got grade B and the shake and the stuff that isn't as kind of dense, but you still use it. You make concentrates out of it, topicals, ointments, all that type of stuff. Or you could be growing for seed, um, or outside of the cannabis space, because again, Trella is not just for cannabis, it's for all types of tall plants. Outside of that space, you could be also growing for greens, for the leaves themselves. There's a lot of people that are growing plants for the plant-based, protein pack that you can get out of the leaves. So it's not just about growing a plant to make it look cool, which there's a space for that. Trust me, I understand. But this is about growing a plant to make sure that you get the most out of it, so that you get every little nook and cranny. I mean, the plant, your equipment, the nutrients, you put so much input into this, all the things that you put into this plant, and then to waste any part of it is just not efficient. So we grew this plant and tried to leave as much of the foliage and things and stuff on, so that we could really see how much volume, how much biomass can we get out of one individual plant. So when we cut that off, it was around 10 pounds or so,
Wow.
wet. So and that's just one plant that took up maybe like a 2 foot by 6 foot, space on the floor. You can stack them and do that again.
How
You know,
long did it take you to grow that?
so the whole process was about 5 months. About 5 months. I think we were in veg for about 70 days, and then it's the strain. That particular strain is ChemDog #4 that we grew, and it tastes really good. It was
Hmm?
enjoyable. Still have some shake, and still have some shake left, but to make tinctures and things like that with. But it was cool. It was cool, and to get that out of the unit, like to get that out of the actual device. You can take it out from the side, but the first thing you have to do is cut the stem so you can take the plant out. So to cut the stem, I needed one of those like big, like big clippers,
Yeah. Hmm.
that you use for like cutting a branch outside. That was what was required to
Wow.
to snip that stem. It was thick. We have some other videos and some other pictures um, of what the main stem looked like. But we were around, I think, when we did the measurement of the, what was it? What was it? 2.5 to 3 inches in diameter, depending. Like if we've done this a few times, so we have like a range of about 2.5 to 3 inches in diameter for an indoor plant. That's pretty amazing for an
That
indoor
is
plant.
pretty amazing.
And we grow with hydroponics. We did a recirculating deep water culture, and yeah, we did like a deep water we is recirculating deep water culture, hydroponics. We did not add CO2, so the ppm on the CO2 was roughly about 500, nothing crazy, and yeah, that was it. That's how she was grown. But again, we wanted to keep everything on. The other reason why we like to keep everything on while we're doing our grow trial, is that we also have a series of fans that are blowing and circulating air underneath of the canopy. And we wanted to make sure that the sizing of our circulation of those fans, that we had enough air that could actually get through something robust, thick, with a lot of biomass. So in order to test it, you kind of got to leave it. You got to leave a lot of it on there. So that's what we did with this plant. But if you're interested in growing it specifically for flower, you can do the same. You just defoliate more. That's all. If that's what you want, defoliate a little bit more. If you don't really care and you want a lot of biomass, just defoliate less. If you want to take multiple cuttings from the plant and let it recover and replenish itself, you can do that too. So Trella has a lot of capabilities because it lets the plant stay indoors, in a configuration that's controllable, so that you can just keep working on the plant and not have to worry about it getting too big and out of control. So
Nice.
that's my that's the story on that plant. If you have any other questions or anything, of course, leave it in the comments. While if you're watching the recording of this, hit us up with any questions in the comment section, and we'll get right back to you as soon as we possibly can. Um, what else did we have on the agenda? We're getting close to the final point here.
Yep. Um, you wanted to kind of
Oh, right. Let's go to the
clarify.
shop. Let's go to the shop.
Yes.
All right. And then, okay. Um, so yeah, this is our shop. We last week on our weekly live, we announced the new Model 4E, TrellaGro LST Model 4E. And we also mentioned that we have a limited time discount on that. So it's $300 off the Model 4E, but the discount has to be applied before May 15th. So you can go to the website, shop.trella.io. You can maybe throw that in the comments too, Denise, if you don't mind.
I
Um,
don't mind.
so yeah, click on that URL. It'll take you to this homepage here. You can scroll down and you can see we got the new Model 4E right there. We talk about the discount, but keep scrolling and check out, some more information. How does it work? How does TrellaGro work? What does it look like in flowering? How do you harvest? I talked a little bit about that earlier, but you'll have it here again. Some of the benefits. There's also, we talked about this last week, that auto sync LED feature where you can turn your LED lights on only as the plant grows, so you can significantly save your energy costs. That's pretty huge. And then the method, why are we growing our plant in a configuration like this? Where did it come from? How did it start? And it's really an LST method that trains the plant to grow horizontally, so that you don't have to cut as much of the plant off. You can leave more intact. And you talked about the importance of trying to get as much biomass as possible. Then last is the comparison chart. We do have three different models. Model 4E is the newest. Model 4 and Model 6 are also available and best suited for commercial use. So you can see some information on all three of those models. But the Model 4E is the one that has the discount, has a really nice introductory price point. It ships within 8 to 12 weeks, and we build to order. So this is important. I think we're a little bit different than others. We build to order, which means you place your order, we get to work, we start building it to you, we ship it to you. We also have limited availability as well. So make sure that you don't that you click on that purchase button before May 15th, because once May 15th passes, then the price will go up, and we may or may not have discounts after that. But this was our introductory discount, which we can't sustain this forever. We have costs just like everybody else. So please, take advantage of this while you can, because we won't be able to do this for very long. Um, and I don't know, Denise, anything that I might have missed about this?
Yeah, um, you're now offering Asia is now offering like 20-minute consulting.
Yes,
Um,
that's right. That's right. Go ahead.
uh,
Or I
to
could do
talk
it.
about to talk about your needs, and what model would be best for you, whether you're commercial or whether you're residential, and also too if you already have an existing indoor cultivation space and you need some advice about how to make it more efficient and more curtailed to what you're looking for. Asia is available, and I'm actually putting the form into the comments section too, um, for people to sign up if they want to hit you up, Asia, to chat with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And we also have a little comment from Christopher saying building to order is awesome.
Ah, thank you, Christopher. Appreciate that comment. Appreciate you coming through and checking out the live. Thank you. Um, yeah, we're a benefit corporation. We have an approach of trying to do things more sustainably, more efficient, uh, and also, when you a lot of companies, what they can do is they can go out and buy a lot of inventory, keep it on hand, and then wait for people to purchase it. But that requires a lot of capital up front and space, time, materials that may or may not be needed. We decided to do it differently and then say, place the order, we'll build it for you. And depending on um, the type of model that you purchase, will also bring it to you, deliver it, get you set up, get you going. So we're trying to come at this from more of a consulting perspective. As we don't want to just send you the product and wish you good luck. We really want to engage with you, to communicate and follow up. So in alignment with what Denise is saying, let's start that relationship and start that conversation by just doing a free 20-minute kind of consultation. She dropped the link in the chat. Schedule some time to talk. I can go into a lot more detail. And we've been consulting for all of 2021. We started consulting. We started picking up some clients. It's been mostly word of mouth, and we're very thankful for those that the clients that we currently have. But we want to expand that. We want to be able to share, help more people. If you just came online, you might have missed what we talked about earlier about the impacts of droughts and what they do to your equipment and efficiency and trying to plan ahead. I've been a consultant engineer for since I graduated from college back in 2002. Been helping people identify the problem and find a solution for it. So um, been enjoying doing that in 2021, as well as working on the product and the design, and we're going to continue to do that. So please, if you're looking for some insight, a different perspective, want to just pick the brain a little bit, schedule that 20-minute free consultation. And then lastly, is, did you know that you could still invest in Trella Technologies? We love crowdfunding. We use crowdfunding often. We have our regulation crowdfunding page open. We have some information there, some incentives for people. So please go to the page, check that out. You'll see the link, wefunder.com. I don't know, Denise, if you can type in the WeFunder link,
Hmm.
the whole
Yeah,
thing, so
put that
people don't
back
have to
in there.
search that.
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, but yeah, go to our WeFunder campaign page, check that out, and you know, if you want to support the company, you like the idea, you like what we're doing, you want to see how we're going to grow, you want to be part of that growth, you want to have some skin in the game. You can become an investor. It's not a donation; it's an actual investment that will, you know, you'll have an asset, versus a donation. I think sometimes people think crowdfunding and they think, oh, I'm giving something away. We are very happy and thankful for the money, but you are also becoming an investor, a sort of partner in this as well. So check that out. Denise will put that in,
Yes,
and
I'm trying to log into it. All right, and I think that is
that is it.
all.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for checking us out, for staying around till the end. Again, if you have any questions, hit us up email us at trella.io. Also, make comments, please. These algorithms are not nice. They really need other people to engage to get this stuff out there. So if you could help us out by sharing, liking, we greatly appreciate it. All right, everybody. Mad peace, mad love. And we'll see you next week, next Tuesday at noon EST. We'll be back.
All right.
All right.
Bye,
Later.
y'all.